Since 1996, Oklahoma and Texas combined to claim 18 of the 30 Big 12 titles. But now the Sooners and the Longhorns are entering uncharted territory as they join the SEC in 2024. The SEC, where things will not come nearly as easily as they have in the past. So guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to break down a big question. Who will have more success in the SEC in 2024? Will it be Oklahoma or will it be Texas? As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks that have beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. Do not miss out on those. The season's going to be here before we know it. Also, check out our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear to be featured in every single one of our videos. Everything back here has been sent in by you guys, members of our GE Nation. We love to represent your team loud and proud in every single video. We want you to become a member of our GE Nation. You can do that by liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the notification button, and of course, checking everything out down in the description. So I want to reiterate, this is not a video, and this is not a discussion saying who's going to have the better long-term success in the SEC. We're talking this year alone. Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference together this year with all the crazy conference realignment happening around the country. Who has the better season and their first year in the SEC? To answer that question, we have to look at last year, and then we have to look at the roster this year. You look last year, both very good years for both these programs. Oklahoma did beat Texas in the regular season, but it was Texas that ultimately had the better season. The Longhorns won the Big 12, their last year in the conference, won it, and then made the college football playoff where they nearly beat Washington in the college football playoff semifinals. Just missed out on playing it for a national championship. Oklahoma had a disappointing 2022, bounced back in 2023 under Brent Venables, 10-3, losing to Kansas, Oklahoma State, and then Arizona in their bowl game. Both of these teams now have very lofty expectations. They expect to contend in the SEC immediately. They expect to make the college football playoff, a college football playoff that is now expanded to 12 teams, making it a little bit easier to get in there. So who's going to have the better year? Well, let's take a look at Texas. I think on paper, it's a no-brainer. You go, Texas will be better, and let's just move on. They are loaded with talent. Quinn Ewers returns as one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He's going to have great protection up front. 4 offensive linemen returning for the Longhorns, and we all know in the SEC, college football in general, but in the SEC, you've got to be able to win that battle in the trenches. Texas already doing their part, at least on the offensive front. They did lose their top 5 pass catchers from last year, though. Bit of a concern. They lost guys like Adonai Mitchell. They lost Xavier Worthy. They lose their star running back in Jonathan Brooks. But Steve Sarkisian, the Longhorns, they addressed those needs, right? They went into the transfer portal. They got Isaiah Bond to come in from Alabama. Isaiah Silas coming in as well. Plenty of more pass catchers they recruited, both at the high school level and through the transfer portal. That's going to kind of replenish those weapons for Quinn Ewers. The defense for Texas, loaded once again. We kept saying last year how the Texas offense kind of stole the show. No one really paid enough attention to the Texas defense. This year, you're going to. The defense loaded with talent, especially up front, and they even added a great edge rusher in Trey Moore from UTSA. So Texas loaded on offense, experienced quarterback. I think the biggest question for them, honestly, is going to be how quickly can they build chemistry? A core of completely new pass catchers, how quickly can they build chemistry with one another and their quarterback? But the offensive line is solid. The front 7 defensively is solid. Texas has the pieces to make a run, not just an SEC title, but a national title. Oklahoma, on the other hand, you look at them on paper and you go, maybe not as good. They lose Dylan Gabriel off to Oregon, but Jackson Arnold, quarterback of the future for the Sooners. Kind of saw flashes of brilliance from him last year. Honestly played well in the bowl game had it not been for like 4 turnovers. So he looked good at times, cut down on the turnovers, and he's going to be a very solid quarterback. And we believe that will be the case. It was really one game, and a game where he really had no experience. So Jackson Arnold, a lot of promise and potential for Oklahoma. Fans should be excited for that. They do lose their offensive coordinator in Jeff Lebby, off to become the head coach at Mississippi State. Even they hired Seth Luttrell to come in as their new offensive coordinator, the former head coach at North Texas. I think he's going to do extremely well there, and the offense really isn't going to miss a beat in 2024. The wide receiver core is better than Texas as of right now. Andrew Anthony returns from an injury that he suffered last year. Jaleel Farouk returns as well. Deion Burks, the addition of him to the transfer portal, going to be huge for Oklahoma offensively. Just like Texas, the defense is going to be very, very strong, especially within that front seven. Brent Venables is one of the best defensive minds in the game. He's going to coach them up. And Oklahoma, at times, did struggle defensively last year, should improve on that side of the ball again. Steadily improving. So the offense, not nearly as good as Texas. The defense, I think, can hold their own with Texas. These two teams, again, Texas on paper is better, but Oklahoma absolutely can hold their own. Both of these teams have pros and cons on their rosters, no doubt about it. They're not perfect by any means. Take a look at the schedule, though. That's really what it comes down to, right? You look at the roster, you look at the coaching, you look at all these things, but who do they got to play? You could have all the talent in the world, but if you have one of the toughest schedules in the country, you're bound to lose a game or two, and you might not live up to your expectations. The one thing I find really interesting is the fact that Oklahoma and Texas both only have one true road game between Week 1 and Week 9, which is October 26th. Both teams only have one true road game during that time, which is absolutely unbelievable. Texas, they have a handful of very tough, difficult games. One of them is in Week 2 against the reigning national champions in Michigan. They have to go to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. Granted, it's a Michigan team that's with a new head coach, a new quarterback, a lot of new schemes, a team that's going to look nothing like the team that won the national championship last year, but still a very tough environment and a great test for both these teams that had national title aspirations. They have to go to Texas. They play Oklahoma and Georgia back-to-back. That's going to be massive there. Obviously, the Red River rivalry, Red River Showdown, always going to be a great matchup. But then you get Georgia right after that. In Austin, it's a plus, but going to be very, very difficult for the Longhorns. They had interesting games at Arkansas. Last time Texas visited Arkansas, they got destroyed. And then they go on the road to Texas A&M, finally renewing that rivalry there. So the schedule for Texas, relatively tough. Some really tough games in there. Oklahoma, on the other hand, they host Tennessee. They obviously play Texas. And then they go to Ole Miss, to Missouri, host Alabama, and to LSU. So pick your poison, guys. Both these teams have very, very difficult games. All those games, of course, are not consecutive. They play each other. Texas plays Michigan, Georgia, Arkansas, A&M. Those are probably their toughest. Oklahoma plays Texas, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, LSU. One could argue that Oklahoma actually has the more difficult schedule, having to go to Death Valley, having to go to a Missouri team that won 11 games in the Cotton Bowl last year, hosting Alabama, which is still going to be solid despite the loss of Nick Saban, to Ole Miss, which dominated the transfer portal and had the shot to make the playoff. I mean, this is a tough, tough schedule for both. And we're not here to predict these games today. That's coming soon. We're going to break down both these teams' records and games, game by game, official record predictions. And so then you'll finally get our full answer from us. Based on the record, we believe Oklahoma or Texas will be better. But I think based on the roster and based on the schedules, I think you can lean more towards Texas probably faring a little bit better in the SEC in 2024. I think they're built a little bit better for it. I think they return more talent and production this year, which means they're built for it and better for it. I like Steve Sarkisian a little bit more than Brent Venables right now. And I like the schedule just a tiny bit more for Texas than I do for Oklahoma. We're not going to know what's going to happen until these two teams finally take the field here in a few months. But I think Texas had a slightly better year in 2024 than Oklahoma with both these teams' first seasons in the SEC. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks. Definitely do not want to miss out on those. Also, our mailing address to send us some of your team's gear. We've got some Oklahoma and Texas gear up there, but for other fans, we want your gear. We want to represent your team in all of our videos. We want you to become a part of our GE Nation, so make sure to check everything out, again, right down there in the description. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.